We're back at Conversations on a Bench. I'm Kim Cook, and I'm the CEO here at Bread of Life Mission. You can see it behind me. I can't quite get the right angle, but it's back there.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, I am sitting here at the corner of South Main and First Avenue uh, until noon tomorrow. All the stuff is going on the street. We've got music serenading us back here. We've had some mental health breakdowns and lots of stuff going on, and it's been fun. Um, anyway, I'll be sitting in here till noon tomorrow having conversations about homeless issues. And right now, I have Andrew Constantino with me, and I have been looking forward to this interview. So, just walked up last time I did this, and it was after midnight. I was just about to settle down and maybe have a nap, and he came up, and I think we talked for an hour and a half.
Yeah, quite a while.
Long time. And by the way, at the office, you're blue hair guy.
I feel like all over Seattle, that's what people call me.
Anyway, Andrew and I had a great conversation, and really we were diametrically opposed on some issues, but we became fast friends.
Yeah.
But then we haven't had a chance to get together. We've texted, but we haven't really gotten together since then. So
Yeah, I mean, I just, especially in this kind of work, it just feels like time is the, most valuable resource, but I mean, that's what's cool about texting.
yeah. So Andrew, why don't you tell people, why did you come to the bench last time?
Well, I can't even remember who made me aware of it. No, I think it was one of the business leaders in Pioneer Square, since I do street outreach in this area. She mentioned that you were doing a live stream. And so, as I stay up quite kind of late. And so I think it was like in the evening time, I was like, oh, let me see if I can find that live stream. And so I looked and I saw it, and I just listened to about 30 minutes, 40 minutes of the live stream. And I was like, you know what? I'm sure plenty of guests will want to come at noon or 2 p.m. or 5 p.m. when they get off work. But I was like, no one's going to come at midnight. So I was like, I'm just going to go there right now and say my 2 cents. I have a big mouth.
Which mic is off? Mine? It's off? It just needs to Oh, just close to mine. I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
So I like to run my mouth in public, and so I was like, what a great opportunity. And I didn't really know what to expect, but I had so much fun. You're quite a charmer, and
My family wouldn't say that.
and I feel like since then, at least every other week, I have to pester you on text.
Oh no, it's never pastoral.
Yeah, I'm a prolific texter as well. So if you just get, it's kind of like leaving tuna out for the stray cat. The cat will be there every day. Text me back, and I will text you every day.
Okay. I have an aunt that's like that. I love her. So Andrew, tell people what it is that you do for a living. You're an outreach worker. What does that mean?
Yeah, it's like there's all the, more clinical or professional ways to explain it, which I'm an outreach specialist. I have a geographic area, kind of like just, it's a very specific street that I cut off that I don't go further than. And, I talk to business folks, workers in the area, community members, and if they see someone who's maybe camping or using substances or in a mental health crisis, often police response might be slow or not what they really need. It's not a medical emergency, and so I'm kind of like in that middle area. And so it's kind of like just troubleshooting a social situation and seeing if I can come up with a solution for it. I look at it like in non-clinical or professional language as I kind of drift about the city, a lot of times aimlessly. And when I see someone that is just really isolated and alone, then I become their temporary best friend in order to kind of lend some of my strength in order to help get them out of the mud.
Oh, that's so needed. That is so
Yeah, and a lot of times it's people that won't ask for help, right? There's a lot of shame and pride, that is involved in it. And so, just my personality, I'm a little pushy, so
Mhm.
I push my way in.
Yeah. We just realized that my mic really was off.
Oh, wow.
So unfortunately, we'll that might have been on purpose. Um, I we see so much need for that here. Like we have just even this week, we've had 3 or 4 people that have had to be arrested because
Mhm.
they were just having. I really think that there's some bad stuff in the drug supply right now.
Yeah. In this area, right where you're located, where the mission is, like me and some of the business community, we've been talking a lot in the past week or two,
Mm-hmm.
because it's been more intense,
It really
like in the
has.
past month or two, and it's like as far as like doing the outreach assertive part that I'm doing. I'm like I'm one person.
Mm-hmm.
When there's 70, 100 people, I literally just can't get into everyone's
Mm-hmm.
business.
Yeah.
So I,
Yeah.
I'm like, I think there's a number of factors in the city that are causing this area to become more of a hotspot.
What is that? What do you think?
Well, so, we have the one that gets a lot of media attention, I think rightly so, which is Little Saigon, just up the street on Jackson. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I mean, a year ago, you could go up there and in a 2 block radius, there might be 200, 250 people.
Mm.
And it's like some people sleeping outside, some people hanging out, but it's really all about drugs, buying
Mm-hmm.
and selling, using drugs. And it's just 24 hours a day, that many people. And so there's been so much attention paid to it, even though, it's not, it's nowhere near solved yet. But there's been more enforcement. Police are up there more often. I was up there recently with the fire department, and we were offering people medically assisted treatment, a
Mm-hmm.
shot, Sublocade, right there, And so we're in the park right there talking to people. And so I'm doing the encouraging part. But so there's just been a lot of resources and attention focused there. And I have seen, because I'm occasionally over there, some folks drift down, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when there's a lot of attention paid here or enforcement, then, kind
They're
of
gonna
some people
move.
shift. Yep.
Yeah.
So that's a
Yeah.
big part of it. The other thing I've seen is a, a few folks around here talking about they were formerly camping in Burien, and Burien, like over the past year or two, has like banned camping, and so I think that might have caused some shift to them being in the city. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know for sure about that though.
Yeah. Yeah. We've definitely seen a difference, and I've
Uh,
seen that for a while the tents were getting taken care of quickly.
yeah,
And it might seem odd that I don't want the tents because I work with homeless, but I really think that we're enabling people to stay where they are, and I would rather see people get help. So
yeah.
that's where I stand. But I saw that the tents were taken care of quickly and now they're not. So a policy change has happened.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a lot of times, I think a thing that I part of it is unique to Seattle, where a lot of the government agencies in this town, they're not very transparent. It's
Right.
like we have the King County Regional Homeless Authority. What do they do? It's like they had a lot of press and pomp and circumstance when they first started and had all this money and made a lot of promises, but I you don't see them anywhere. You don't hear about them doing things.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, as far as like the tents, I'll give you an example. It's like I have a mixed feeling about it. It's like during COVID, a lot of people with my kind of job, we were just giving everybody tents everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that it was because of that shelter in place order, and
Mm-hmm.
it kind of led to kind of like a norm. It became the
Mm-hmm.
norm of large clusters of tent encampments all over the
Mm-hmm.
place. And so it was kind of hard to walk that back afterwards.
Yeah.
But I mean, sometimes I'm sympathetic to it. I'm not giving out tents all day, but I had a couple today that they had talked to some of the security in the waterfront area, and the security guard connected us, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And they want to get a tiny house. It's one of the only shelters a couple can go to. And so I was like,
Mm-hmm.
yep. I was like, I'll get right on it. I get some information from
Mm-hmm.
them. I'm going to do some of the case management while we're working on that. And so then I went and talked to the provider that has the villages. And I'm like, what kind of timeline do you think I could get? And, honestly, it's like, It's hard for me to get them. I don't have a direct pipeline to them, but I
Mm-hmm.
worked for them for many years. So, you know, um, they were like, oh, maybe a month. So
Yeah. So what do
here's a
they do for a
couple.
month, right?
Yeah. So they're like in treatment. They're not currently using.
Mm,
Probably been clean 6, 7 months. And looking for work. I gave a suggestion to go to Uplift Northwest. They're
mm-hmm.
waiting for this tiny house, so that they're in that trap,
Right.
right?
Right.
So it's like,
That I have real compassion for.
yeah, it's a tough situation.
A lot of the ones I'm seeing down here are drug users, and
Hmm.
like my husband was assaulted, verbally assaulted going to the car the other night,
Oh, I went down
right here on
where?
the street, and he was just getting in the car, and he was threatened with his life, and
Uh-huh.
spit on, and it's like that doesn't normally happen here. I
No.
really don't want people to think that that's the norm, but it's happened lately, and
Yeah.
this guy was living in one of the tents.
Well,
So
I've lived here 30 years, but I'm originally from the East Coast, DC and Baltimore. And so when I first came to Seattle 30 years ago, I had never felt so safe in my whole life.
mm,
You know, it was like the level of like being afraid for your personal safety that you experience in a city like DC or Baltimore. You don't even realize how it wears down on you. You can
mm.
never go anywhere alone at night. You always have to watch your back. So when I came here, it was a massive relief, and it felt so good. And I've noticed lately, I don't quite feel that way.
And I think it's flip flopped.
Yeah,
I think
I'm a
some of
little more
those cities
careful.
are a little cleaner now than they were. I don't know. I
Well,
mean, I think.
I was in Baltimore recently, and I'll say I still felt the edginess, but the
Hmm.
thing that counteracted it was there was more police
Right.
presence. It was like on a weekend night, like we see here, a lot of people go out drinking and partying, and there'll be police cruisers, and they're hanging out. They have their lights
Right.
on, just so that people feel safer because they're
They know
present.
they're there. Yeah.
Here in Seattle, you don't ever see
Well,
that.
I was just talking to Chief Amy Barden today,
Mm.
and she said there were like 60 or 70 active police here in Seattle. I'm like, that's all?
Y- y-
I wonder.
I love her, and I went to the 911 call center where her office is.
Mm,
She invited me, and I was like, oh, cool. I get to see this cool thing, and it was awesome. Where I'm like, here, like you see 911 calls coming in. And
hmm.
I was like, this is so exciting because it feels like the heartbeat of the city. Every
Yeah.
emergency that's happening.
Yeah.
And when I looked on their screens that they have of availability of emergency units like paramedics or police,
Hmm.
I couldn't believe how
How
limited it
few.
was.
Yeah.
And like we were saying, yeah, if there were two emergencies, the third one, there's no one left to
Hmm.
respond.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Andrew, we had quite the conversation in January about harm reduction. And I've told different people that I was sitting there listening to you going, like, first of all, we totally disagreed on it.
Mm.
And you schooled me on harm reduction. Like, you told me. And I was sitting there going, wow, this sounds great. I know I disagree with it, but it sounds great.
Oh, that's so funny.
Right?
Yeah.
And yeah, and we had the best quote of the whole 24-hour time.
Oh,
What I thought
tell me.
was you were talking, and I go, and how's that working
Yeah,
for
yeah,
you?
yeah.
Right? Well, it just so happened that we lost that quote because it was when they cut the feed to start the new one at the 12-hour mark. And
Oh
I'm like,
my God.
really?
Well, I think that exactly what you're saying is, I in my personal life or in other areas, I try to warn people that I just it's like a gene. It's like being tall. When you're tall, people are like, oh, that man is handsome because he's tall. Um, I have a personality trait. I have like a charismatic personality, and it makes me appear to be more right than I am. It makes me appear to be smarter than I am.
I have a little bit of that too. Not the charismatic. I won't even pretend, but
Yeah.
just that I can say things and they sound right.
Even
Yeah.
when I'm like, wait a minute, what am I talking about? So I always have to be very careful about what I'm talking about because
Right.
when it comes out of my mouth, it sounds
Hmm. So we've had some discussions by text since
yeah,
then.
yeah.
Talk to me about your journey since January and maybe your thought processes.
Well, I think that like I'm saying that with my just extemporaneous speaking ability or charisma, sometimes I can come across as like, very arrogant or just like self-assured. But I listen to people, and I
Mm,
and I really take in what people are telling me, and I think about it, and I feel like when I came and talked to you, it was like you were pointing out something to me that I feel like I hadn't considered enough, and I started to really dwell on it, and that thing is like personal transformation, is
mm,
what I would call it. Maybe that's like a spiritual awakening, or changing from within your outlook on life, your perspective. And I feel like in like our modern day, there's a lot of focus on medicalizing everything. Like, here's 4 pills you can take and they will make you feel and behave the way you want to.
mhm,
And some people do have like challenges, and that's helpful. But I think that it leaves out the personal transformation piece. And so I've been thinking about that quite a bit, and I feel like I don't know, some of my views have shifted since we spoke, such as, I feel like, harm reduction, the philosophy, it has a place, but we have to make sure that the gold standard of what we're
mhm,
talking about is full recovery,
mhm,
like abstaining from these
mhm.
dangerous synthetic chemicals.
For those who don't know, can you briefly describe what harm reduction is
Y
and what it's become?
Right. So, I mean, at first, like the best example is, I'm a former heroin user. I used for 12 years. I've been haven't used heroin in 18 now. Um, and so there was a time where intravenous drug users, like IV drug users, um, because they're injecting the drug, they could spread HIV or other diseases to one another by reusing dirty needles or sharing needles. And so the idea is, like, as public health might give them clean needles so that they stop that behavior, which would limit the spread of HIV.
Mhm.
So you can see the logic
It
there, right?
yeah.
Um, and I think that, extending that logic, it's drifted into more just not really challenging people at all, and,
Mhm.
and so I felt like, there are just other things, like other supplies you might give someone, that it didn't make it, there wasn't the clear connection between public health, or their health,
Mhm.
such as like a bubble or a foil, you know. And so I think that I don't know, you tell me if you feel this way. It just feels like over the past like 5 years, like maybe since COVID, a lot of words have been stretched so thin they've started to lose meaning, right?
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That
yeah, I
feeling.
do.
And so I just feel like, the place for it is in talking to someone who is struggling with addiction, and they can be honest with you. Like, if you made me a policeman and I did my outreach, no one will talk to me, right? Because I'm a
Mhm.
policeman. If everything is criminal and they're doing a criminal behavior, they're not going to talk to me. They're going to be dishonest with me. Of course they
Mhm.
are, right? But it's like, if people are able to be honest with me, then they can trust me, and I can help them kind of untangle that
Mhm.
situation. So I think that that's its best use, is allowing people enough of a gray space, between, like isolating yourself, lying to everyone, being on the other side of the law, and doing everything, being a good boy and doing everything right. A lot of people, it's going to take them a while to get there.
Mhm.
And so, like, I look at it like programs that help you with, like overcoming your addiction, like inpatient, help you with employment or education, housing. That's kind of like, for rebuilding your life, that's step one, two, three, four, five.
Mhm.
But for someone to get to one, they're usually starting at -3.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'm doing or with harm reduction, that's -3 to 1.
Mhm.
Like getting someone to start thinking about the drug. Like
Mhm.
a lot of people, they don't even know what they're using.
Right.
And they don't know the risk. And it's like talking to someone about it, getting them to think differently about what's going on in their life.
Mhm.
When you're as a former opiate user, there is nothing so terrible that opiates can't help you tolerate it. You know, you can suffer
Mhm.
through anything so long as you have an opiate, because it makes it
Right.
so you're in a dream. It puts
Mhm.
you in that knocked out state.
Mhm.
So I just think that, you know, helping someone kind of wake from that dream and want something more.
It's a theory of change, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, as far as like how my view has shifted a little bit, it's just, you know, it's kind of like I was primarily having conversations with people about housing a year ago. That's like number one on my list. Number two is like drug treatment. Number three is like employment. And I think I've reordered it,
Mhm.
where, you know, I've seen it as, if we can address this addiction, the other parts become easier. You
Mhm.
don't have to do that first, but I'll strongly encourage someone, and just
Mhm.
making sure that I'm always having that conversation
Yeah.
about, you know, this is something that is always going to be a threat to your life. You know,
Mhm.
the drug is abusing you. You're not even abusing it.
Oh, so right.
Yeah. And it's like, so I just think that it's a matter of prioritization, right? And so I think that how, you know, in my opinion, how things have gotten a little screwy over the past few years is the priorities got a little shuffled a bit,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah. And I think we talked a lot last time about like uh, there's hope for people to actually change. You're a living example of that, but it's so easy for us to get in the like to start thinking, well, we don't want to push people. We
Yeah.
want to let them decide for themselves. And instead, we can actually encourage them to find uh, recovery, and we can have hope for them until they have it for themselves, right?
I literally, that is, I couldn't remember. That is what you had said to me, where I was like, damn, you know, it's like maybe, you know, I have some excuse that I'm making, but it's like treating someone like a child or giving up on them. I'm like, you know, a lot of folks, especially if you're 20 something and you're out here on these streets using substances, you know, come on, we can fix this quickly. We can help
Right.
you quickly. And it's like being too shy or feeling like, you know, you're pushing them into something. You know, it's coming from a loving place. You don't have to be,
Mhm.
you know, rude about it or mean about it. You
No.
know, you're helping
Mhm.
someone to, you know, care about themselves.
Right. Right. I feel like there's so many things that people might try to cover or fill with an addiction, right?
Oh
With
yeah.
drugs. And it's almost like it's a tourniquet. They've put a tourniquet on a wound to make it stop bleeding.
Hmm.
But that tourniquet is going to make them lose their arm, right? And and we have to get them help so that we can take the tourniquet off and save their arm.
Yeah.
We have
Yeah.
to fix what it is that caused the addiction in the first place and help them heal their life. It's not, this isn't helping. It might have helped for a
Yeah.
moment, but it's not the fix.
Well, you know, I just feel like it's more urgent than ever. Whereas, you know, at different periods in the past, you know, like alcohol is a very destructive drug.
Mm,
Um, and, you know, it can ruin families, ruin people's lives. It can destroy your health. But over like 20 years, over 30
right.
years, a lot of the folks now that are using these synthetic drugs, they're barely even drugs. You know,
Mhm.
they're just, it's like poison.
It
You
really
know,
is.
It's like people, you know, people will, if they're an alcoholic, they'll put on an old record and cry about their ex. You know, it's like people using fentanyl. They're not listening to Pink Floyd albums, and
Mm-mm.
you know, it's like these drugs are so toxic that someone doesn't have a 20-year addiction in them.
No, they have an 18-month
Yeah,
addiction.
right.
Right.
And it's like you see the wounds on people out here. It is
Mm.
shocking. And when I see 20 somethings where they're
Explain it.
uh, it's like the one of the adulterants that's been in fentanyl in a lot of the cities is a chemical called xylazine. Xylazine is a tranquilizer, not an opiate.
It's a horse
Yeah,
tranquilizer.
yes, yeah, right. And so this tranquilizer, basically is knocking people unconscious. So if it has a little bit of the opiate and you go unconscious, then you feel as though you got your money's worth. And it's mildly addictive too. Narcan doesn't work on it. And I can't remember exactly what it's drying out, but the xylazine is drying out like circulatory tissue inside your body. And so at your joints, there's like a buildup of this dried part. I don't know the science behind it or the medicine behind it, but people's skin will crack open around their joints, around their ankles, their knuckles, and so a wound will crack open and it just doesn't close. It grows greater and greater. The skin dries out more and more. So people are going to scratch it. They're going to, like bandage it and not address it.
And on top of that, if they're in an encampment or living on the street.
Yeah, you get
it's
a
all
million
over.
infections in it. And I mean, I'll see people that have just been using fentanyl for like 6 months, and they'll take off a sock and their entire ankle, it's like flesh is eaten off of it. And because I see someone walking with a limp, I'm like, what's going on with your ankle? And they're like, I'm okay. I'm like, just
No, what's wrong?
you have to get medical attention for this.
Yeah.
And I've even a lot of people get caught up in drugs, and I swear they don't know what they're using. They're new to drugs. They're young. And I had a client telling me, he's like, oh, he had like a severe burn on him and some of the flesh rot. And he's like, oh, I'm taking a medicine for it. I'm like, oh, you went to a doctor? He's like, oh, fentanyl.
Oh, no.
I'm like, yeah.
Dude, that's why you've got it.
Yeah, you don't feel any pain. I understand you, but do you want to be 27 years old missing a limb if you live?
Right. Yeah, I'm seeing that all over too. So I don't think people realize, like they see it on the streets. They don't realize the severity of this, the severity to the person, but also to our whole nation. I mean, I was talking to Amy, Chief Amy Barden, and we were talking about Fentanyl Death Incorporated. It's a documentary on fentanyl, and it's so good. I learned so much from it, but it said that we have lost more people to fentanyl than all of the wars since World War I.
That's shocking.
It really is. It's the equivalent, get this, I believe I've got the statistic right. It's the equivalent of a jetliner going down every 2 days.
Oh my God.
Like, what would this nation do if we started having jetliners go down every other day?
And the thing is it's not just like a lot of our clients are, they spent their whole lives in poverty or treat it like they're invisible or like they're not people, but it's like this affects every community. There are plenty of young people out here that, their family is like some nice, successful family, but one of their children, is struggling.
It's everywhere. And it's every socioeconomic class. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of people, they'll see me talk somewhere, or they know the work I do, and they're like, here's my son. Can you help me find him? And I'm like, I'll look.
I hear that all the time too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's affecting everyone, and I don't know. It's so dangerous. I'm like, it's like, this is not a drug. It was sold under false pretenses, like it crept in when COVID was here, so I feel like we were all focused on COVID.
Yeah, and
then
it just
appeared.
exploded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it wasn't sold, like it wasn't like dealers aren't like, hey, do you want to buy fentanyl? They were selling it as Percocet. So it's like a lot of the first wave of addicts had no idea what it was.
Well, and at this point, it's completely poisoned the whole drug supply.
Yes, it's in everything.
They'll be packaging it or whatever on a table, and the next day they're doing cocaine or pot or whatever, and it's in everything. It's like it's like salt or sugar. It's just these little crystals that you can't detect. It's just there.
Yeah.
And so people who are taking pot, thinking it's no big deal, they're dying of fentanyl.
I saw something, I don't know, it was on the internet about people dissolving fentanyl in vapes or something crazy.
It's in everything
Yeah,
now.
and I
It's
mean,
so
like,
scary.
the two of the other popular drugs in Seattle, like cocaine and ketamine, they're both white powders.
Mhm.
So it could just easily a small amount could disappear in it.
Mhm. Yep.
And I don't know. It's there are other drugs that are around the corner too. Like the
Mhm.
King County Sheriff just busted someone, and they had a large amount of carfentanil, which is the new, more potent version.
Oh,
It's
okay, so wait. Fentanyl is the most potent drug we've ever seen.
oh, there's new ones.
And now we've got new ones that are more
Yeah,
potent.
there's another one called. It's a new class of drug. I can't remember the name though. It's like metzodines. It's a new, or nit. I have to look it up, but yeah, the King County Sheriff just found, and I can't remember how much it was, but it was a significant amount of carfentanil, which is
Mhm.
like just another molecular structure of fentanyl,
Mm,
and it's stronger.
wow.
And it's only like it's only use the reason that it's used at all or produced is it's to tranquilize elephants or rhinos.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, so
So it won't
eventually
take much of that.
we're going to need a whale tranquilizer eventually.
Okay, so we've gone down a really dark
yeah,
path.
I know.
But I think it's really important for people to be educated in this and to realize how really urgent this is. This is an emergency.
I
and we
agree.
need to treat it like one. Wake up.
Well, I mean, I just feel like some of the other things that I mean, like I have misgivings about these super concentrated versions of marijuana that are everywhere.
Mhm.
Teenagers do it now, or we know
Mhm.
the destruction that alcohol can do. But this is like you're playing Russian roulette with your life
Mhm.
when you're doing it.
And I've said I really believe that we're losing a whole generation to this if we haven't already.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Mm-hmm. So what do we do? What needs to happen to change the trajectory that we're on?
Well, I mean, I just think that, and I feel like I get myself in trouble with some of these ideas, but I just feel like, we need something a little more firm. Number one, there are plenty of people that if we had like adequate inpatient treatment on any given day, if you're talking to people every day, you could get a few more in to engage with it. And there's a lot of really good medicines that will make it so you're not going to go into withdrawal.
Mhm.
Like there's the new Sublocade or
Yep.
buprenorphine shot, where it's like you get the shot once a month and it eliminates your cravings.
Mhm.
And so we have really good medicines to address it. But it's time consuming, to talk to people about it, to encourage them.
Mhm.
And, maybe they want to come and see what it's about. Like I've had people ask me questions and they want to think about it more. And of course, I know any day they could die, so I want them to start right away.
Mhm.
But the other part is like there are folks out here tonight that they have started treatment. They're taking a medication, but they're still living outside.
Mm.
And so when you're still living outside in the middle of the drugs and you're trying to refrain from doing them, that I don't know who has that kind of willpower,
No.
right? So
Right.
I just feel like if someone is going to engage with treatment, if they're going to start taking a medication, then we need to be able to provide like a tiny house or some place for them to stay to recovery.
Mhm.
And then in that place, it needs to be recovery focused.
Right.
You
right.
know? So
Yeah.
I feel like the conversation has changed this year,
Mhm.
to focus more on that recovery part,
Mhm.
and I just I feel like give me a building, some nurses and doctors, and some of the medicines. I could hang out with like 50 recovering addicts. We'll watch some Netflix. We'll play Candyland and Life, and we'll chat and listen to music. And I promise you they'll want to stay because I'll make it fun. If you
Mhm.
make it like some clinical setting,
Yeah.
to me, it's like that's cool for like the first 2 or 3 days when you're
Mhm.
detoxing, but people don't want to feel trapped, So,
Right.
you need recovery spaces for people to stay, but you also have to, make it a little more human.
Right. Well, and we feel like it's really important to create community
Yeah, yeah.
So, the guys do things together. They do chores together. They have fun
Mm.
together. Um, and, they're learning in recovery. It's really important to find a new way to have fun.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Right.
When I first stopped using heroin, um, my friend bought me a laptop to
Hmm.
specifically play a video game that I wanted to play.
Right.
And he's like, waste your life on a video game because that's better than dying outside on
Yeah.
drugs.
Yeah.
And so it helped me the first few years, like being in recovery. My internal rule was anything but heroin.
Yeah.
So, man, if you want to waste your money on going out to eat or buying clothes, and do whatever you want, just not that. Anything
Hmm.
but that.
Anything but that. Yeah. Exactly. Wow, there's so much we could talk about. And what else do you want to?
Well, I mean, it's like we need a little backbone too.
Hmm.
It's like when you're talking to folks. I'm not shaming people. I'm not saying, oh, you're a bad person for using drugs. I'm like, oh, I've been there. You know, I, but I try to explain to people. I'm like, you're stuck in a trap. I'm like,
Hmm.
I'm not telling you you're bad. I'm
Hmm.
saying I see that you stepped in a bear trap and it has a
Hmm.
hold of your leg, and the drug is
Let me
making it
help.
so you don't see it.
Yeah.
Let me help you get that trap off of you.
Hmm.
You'll never have anything so long as you're addicted to this.
Right.
So I don't know. It's like being more direct with people. Like I don't.
I think that we've like many in our culture have decided that and this touches so many areas, that we have to agree with everything someone is doing in order to be loving,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
And we can agree to disagree on certain things and still love and still show grace and compassion
Yes, yes.
and all of that. So, I think that it's a nuanced, and we have to get back to that somehow.
Yeah, it's even clients that I help with treatment. If I don't hear from them for a couple of months, I'm like, I wonder what happened.
Mhm.
If they call me and they're like, I screwed up, I'm using again. I'm like, you just call me. You could have called me the first day. You
Right.
don't have to wait 2 months.
Right.
I'm
Or
not
call me
mad at you.
before.
Yeah,
You can
please.
you can
Yeah.
tell me I'm struggling. You're struggling.
Tell me you're thinking about it, and we'll
Yeah.
figure something. Let's go watch a movie. Let's do something else.
Right. Right.
Um, what was I just gonna say? I blanked.
I don't know, something about that we can. Well, I was saying that we need to agree with everything.
Oh
Is
yeah.
and yeah.
I really think that like a big part of that. I can't remember if we talked about this last time. That Seattle, like culturally, or politically, it's like we're this weird mix of uh, don't tread on me, libertarian type thinking.
Yeah.
That's very much a West Coast value. Like
Yeah.
even Montana, Colorado, even though they're like that too, but definitely, even though it's like the left coast, we don't like to be told what to do. I'm gonna have blue hair.
I'm from Canada, and I don't like to be told what to do.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah,
know you
I'm
people
from
were
New
like that.
Brunswick, Canada. Well,
Must
they
be
aren't.
Western
They
Canada.
aren't. But I I don't want to be told what to do.
Yeah,
I want to be given choices.
and so we combine that. That's one of the West Coast values, and then you combine that with this like ultra compassionate, hey, live and let live.
Mm-hmm.
And that don't tread on me and live and let live, those two things mixed together,
Mm-hmm.
when there's like people like caught up in taking this poison and addiction, or like serious
Mm-hmm.
antisocial behavior. It's like, well, I wouldn't want to tread on them, that's their freedom, and live and let live, or like this. It makes it so it's a way of kind of like never having to deal with other people.
Right.
you know
Yeah. Yeah. You're
Whereas
right.
I feel like back
Except that
east,
if you believe in something that they're completely opposed to, get out of the way.
yeah, yeah,
Right?
yes.
Like you're in trouble.
Oh, that is true.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's kind of a crazy mix.
Well, you're not allowed to break any norms here.
Right.
People like this norm, and so.
Yeah.
But I feel like back east is kind of like things are so much more compact. Like there's so many more people living in such a small area.
Hmm.
You in a way, people talk more aggressively. But you learn to deal with each other better. Whereas here, everyone has so much space. I feel like there's a lot of space, and so maybe that makes it so it's kind of like, well, they're over there. I'll just ignore it.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know, but it's having come here from out east, it's just very different.
Well, so let
Yeah.
me say this. The other thing that I just talked to you about, I think even before I knew you were going to do this, is I started going to, I think it's called OPIA. It's a class at St. Joe's to learn about or show interest in becoming a Catholic. What do you think about that?
I think that is awesome.
I'm telling
I'm
you,
just so
it's
excited
after I
for
talked
you.
to you, I started thinking about it, and so I finally have taken this step, and I'm like, I got to tell Kim this.
I know. I was so excited when I heard that because, I texted you at one point and I said, I know you've walked away from your
Mhm.
faith of your childhood, but I think God's working in your life.
Yeah,
And
you
he
know,
seems to be. Like that was your change in your mindset wasn't from anything I said. It was God working in you. And I don't know what's going on, but
yeah.
it's fun to watch.
Well, it's just really unusual. It's like this summer. I met this pastor, or like former pastor. I think he's retired from Bellevue, and I don't know. He had seen me talking or something, and he asked someone for my number, and he's like, "Andrew, I want to pray for you." And he's like, even if you're not a believer, he's like, I need to pray for you. He's like, I just saw you and you're an inspiring person. I'm like, okay. And it really got to me. He made me kind of realize through his prayer, um, just like every day I'm absorbing like a lot of pain and
Mm,
trauma
you
and
really are.
suffering. And I have this high exposure to it, right?
Mm.
I don't ignore a lot of what we've kind of learned to look away from.
Mhm.
It's like every
You
day,
walk into it.
yes.
You enter it.
And I just realized, I'm like, man, it's weighing heavier and heavier on me every day, and it's making it so a lot of times, like, I avoid everything else in my life because it's like I'm processing other people's emotions. And
Mm.
so I was like, I need some outlet for that. I need something positive, some like community that is about, like, I don't know, just like something more peaceful or
Mm.
something good. And then I was thinking, I was like, well, what, my biggest struggle has always been the magical piece. Like, well, I don't know if I can get into all the magic part of it, like things unseen. But then I was like, there are ideals that I believe in. I believe there is such a thing as truth and beauty and love. And I'm like, and these things are unseen. So you don't have a problem believing in unseen things.
Gravity is unseen too, but you believe
right,
in
right,
it,
yeah.
right? You believe that this chair is going to hold you up.
That's a good point, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, so what are you talking about? And so I'm just exploring it now.
That's
If
right.
I keep doing it, then I think it's like by Easter time, I'll decide if I'm gonna get baptized and
Mhm.
whatever.
That's really great. I think it's really important to just be open to that faith piece
Yeah.
because really spirituality is so important in life. I think it really centers us. And I mean, I have had experiences with God that nobody can shake my faith
Yeah.
in him and that he is real. I just really believe that God is real. And if somebody told me about him, that's one thing, but I've experienced it. And so you've got to
Mm.
search for yourself and know,
Well,
find God.
I'll say this, even though I've been like a cynic, skeptical person most of my life. I mean, there's many dark hours, like during my addiction or time outside, where I would call out for God to help me or to rescue me, and here I am. You know,
Yeah.
so I think that, I don't know, like, as I'm exploring it, I'm like, oh my, I don't know if I'm ready for like any kind of breakthrough, and just look at everything
Mhm.
that, I mean, I think like my defining characteristic is like just a survivor. I
Mhm.
can't believe I made it this far.
Yeah. Well, I think you had some help along the way there. personally. I think that, and he was protecting you. But at one point in my life, I was just really struggling and believing about God, and I prayed, and I said, God, if um, I'm having a hard time with the idea that there's heaven, but I need something to change here and now.
Right.
And I really feel like he showed me what here and
Mm.
now is about, and that there's power for living here. But I said, God, show me yourself. Like, let me see you. And man, I think that is a prayer that God always will answer.
Mm.
And look out, because he'll
Okay.
show you
Well, I'm
who he
gonna
is.
I'm gonna start like praying soon. I haven't started yet.
Okay, well, it's pretty simple stuff.
Let me tell you, I feel like one, I'm a weird person, and I can't
That's
remember.
what I like about you, Andrew.
I can't remember if I told you this before, but it's like one of the ways that like I got control over my relationship with heroin, and this has worked in other ways in my life too. Um, is I always imagine myself. People have heard me say this in like an oubliette, which is like a hole in the ground that's a prison, and it's dark, and you just forget about someone. And I imagine myself out of the prison.
Mm.
I'm like, okay, in 3 years, I'm out of the prison. And I just start imagining the details of how I'm feeling, what my life is like, how I look at my imprisonment, whether it's
Mm-hmm.
drugs or anything else. And as I imagine that future me, I'm like, what would future me tell me is the first step to
Yeah.
get there?
Mm-hmm.
And so future me then starts telling me, do this, do this, do this.
Mhm.
And I am like, I don't listen to myself anymore.
Yeah.
Present me has run out of ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Let's listen to future me that's healthy, that's safe, that's doing better. And I
Mhm.
borrow strength from myself in the future.
Mhm.
And then suddenly I'm like, I'm in that future.
Right.
I escaped it. And so
Mhm.
when I'm talking to people, I'm like, stop thinking about the past so much.
Mhm.
There's always like trauma
Yeah.
and negativity and need that was unmet in the past.
Mhm.
I'm like, but in the future we can find those things.
Right.
And I'm like, so your present circumstances, we're at a lot of dead ends. And I help people. I'm like, 2 years from now, 4 years from now, imagine, dream with me the
Mhm.
future that you want to be in.
Yeah, because that's how our brain works. It listens to what we say.
Yeah, yes.
It totally does. I really believe that the brain listens to what we say and then goes to work to make it happen.
You are so right.
And so I think that's a big part of some of the depression and everything
Oh,
that's
yeah,
happening
yeah.
in our society. Like, speak positive things, and your brain will make that happen.
Mhm.
Look for the good, and all of a sudden you see it everywhere.
It's like it took me forever to learn that.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it's like changing the way you view the world, your perspective, and it takes time to discipline yourself.
Right.
And it's like as soon as my perspective started shifting, it just looks like there's opportunity everywhere. There are friends everywhere. I see nothing but helping hands. People encouraging you, and you're like, where was all this? I was rejecting it. I
Yeah.
didn't want to be a part of it. And it's amazing.
Yeah. Not to bring it back there, but I believe the same thing is true with God. God's always been there. He's there waiting.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, when you say, show me you, or look for God, you see him everywhere.
Well,
you see him at work.
I mean, I have to say, I finally gotten to the point where I think that is true. And so, I was just doing like a personal interview with someone from St. Joe's. They're like, who are you? You're
Yeah.
coming to this class. And we chatted for a while. And, I'm a little different for church folk. And they were telling me, they were like, I'm trying not to get too excited, Andrew, but I feel like God has sent you here. And we just know as soon as like more of our congregants meet you and see, like the work you do, or learn more about you, they're going to be inspired to do something. So, you're not just here, for God. You're going to help us with our church. And I'm
That's
like, well, that
great.
sounds exciting.
Yeah, sure. I'm up for it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the world's colliding, and that's a
Yeah.
good thing. Okay. So, anything else that you want to share with people? We've got 5 minutes till I have another Zoom.
We got 5 minutes. What am I going to say? 2025. It's like when the year was changing over, and everything was like apocalyptic after the election last year. I was like, oh, what is 2025 going to bring? And I just want to say, I'm 50 years old. I turned 50 in 2025. That it really truly felt like time had kind of frozen, that nothing was ever going to change. Probably around the year 2000, 2010, it felt like we were in this status quo that could not ever be disrupted. In 2025, I feel like the clock on history started ticking again. Things started changing again. Whether it's like globally, for better or worse. Change is always going to come with like
Right.
a lot of fear and who knows, and risk.
Yeah.
But I welcome the change.
Yeah, there's a lot of change right now, and I have some real hope. I don't like everything that's happening,
Me too.
but change is an opportunity.
That's
right?
what I'm saying.
And that's how we need to look at it, and not be fearful, but like let's step into it and create the change that we want to see.
Yeah, and Harold, as a Canadian, if I have one more minute, I'll pitch my idea. I think that you guys should join America as maybe 55 states.
Okay, well, I became a citizen this year. Does that count?
Oh, well then you're in. Well, then you can help us convince the Canadians.
After more than 35 years, probably 38 years living here, I became a citizen.
Now,
finally.
imagine this. What if every province got its own...
Don't talk to my dad about that. He's just don't.
Okay. Well, so I'll say I think Mexico should join us too.
Yeah.
And then we can be ultra super America.
Okay. I think America already thinks that of ourselves. But I'm happy to live here. So, okay. Well, Andrew, it is always so much fun talking to you.
Yes,
Let's
thank you.
make sure we get together before the next bench. And just have coffee when nobody's listening. And anyway, we are going to go to a quick break, and then I'm going to do a Zoom call with the CEO at the Dallas Union Gospel Mission, and we're just going to talk about how homelessness is different in our two cities. So stay tuned. We'll be right back in about 3 minutes.